Mark Lee here with James Molfetas, who I will introduce to you in a moment. This should be a fascinating interview to help accountants understand how they can use LinkedIn effectively to gain more clients. Now, I'm a little bit cynical here. If you've read any of my writing about LinkedIn, you'll know on the one hand, I'm very active. You'll also know I'm a great advocate of accountants using LinkedIn. But I would never be so bold as to say I knew the secrets to helping accountants get more clients from LinkedIn. That's something that James does. And he's written a book on the subject, Regular Clients from LinkedIn for Accountants, which we will hear more about later. James, please introduce yourself though, first of all, and let us know, how did the book come about?
Hi, Mark. Thanks very much. So, yeah, my name, as Mark said, is James Molfetas. I come from sunny South Africa, of all places, and I'm a chartered accountant, but I actually bailed out of the profession in 2011 already. So it was a long time ago. I think we'd just come out of the Enron debacle, and we'd also just come out of the next recession. And what had happened from my perspective was that I didn't get paid a salary for 8 months, and after 8 months, even though I'd built a practice for the last 10 years, eventually you can't sustain that. And so I ended up walking away, and it was a very, very sad day and a very sad moment for me. And I decided at that point that I was actually going to go and make sure that this never happened to me again. So I went on this quest to learn how to generate clients, because neither myself nor my fellow partners knew how to do it. And I actually saw a quote by Bill Gates at the time, and he said, if your business is not on the internet, you'll be out of business. And actually, if we think back, that was probably about 30 years ago that he said it. Didn't realize quite how prophetic it was, but like I knew there was something in there. And I could see that the way that people were buying things was going to change. And obviously, accounting services is no different. And so I started sitting in front of my computer literally for, I think it was about 2 years. I sat in front of this computer for literally 8, 10, 12 hours a day. And what I did was I studied and I filled my head with stuff relating to internet marketing. After 2 years, I realized I know a lot of things, but I don't quite know how it fits together. Took on a mentor, and all of the pieces of the puzzle came together. And I decided to get involved in online sales funnels, and that was the big start for me. I wrote my first book called Infinite Sales Funnels. Started consulting with accountants. I went to all the CPD or CPE providers, depending on where you are in the world, and I said, hey, I've got this book. I'd love to teach your members all about sales funnels. And everybody said yes. And so that's how I started. And the very first webinar that I did, I actually made an offer. It was a consulting offer for a ridiculous price. And I think the first webinar, I had 160 accountants on it, and 40 of them engaged me. So I had a 25% close rate. I was just in the right time, right place, right time. And so that's how things started. And as I started to develop sales funnels, accountants really struggled with this concept. They're still not great with marketing. And as I started to change my business, I started coaching with accountants. And that's really what I do, is I coach accountants on a one-on-one basis, how to get leads and clients from the internet. And as I started to do that, I started to realize that more and more accountants needed good websites, and they needed a good LinkedIn profile. So in the beginning, it was all just about authority, because, when somebody's looking to hire you as an accountant, the first thing they do is they go and they look at your website. And then the minute they've done that, they go and they key in your name, and your LinkedIn profile comes up probably 99 times out of 100. And there's a very good reason for that. And that is because of what is called page rank. So Google loves LinkedIn. Okay. So what Google does when somebody types in your name, so somebody types in Mark Lee, Google says, okay, give us all the pages that we've indexed with Mark's name on it. And it looks at all the pages and says, oh, here's a LinkedIn page. Oh, it's a page rank 10, because they rank pages from 0 to 10. Okay, we'll show the LinkedIn page. So guess what? If Mark's LinkedIn profile is not so up to scratch, nobody phones you up and says, Mark, your profile sucks. No. They're silent. Nothing happens. So basically, you're really getting punished if your profile is poor. However, if your profile is good, guess what? You're going to get those calls.
And you know what, James, just to pause you for a second there, I agree with you and also disagree on one point. You suggested that in the first instance, somebody would look at your website and then search more in order to find your LinkedIn, and would find your LinkedIn profile. I suspect that if I was to type James Molfetas' name into Google, I'd find your LinkedIn profile before I find your website, because of the page ranking that your LinkedIn profile has. And the argument that I always put to accountants is you need to make sure your LinkedIn profile engages and influences your target audience, because if it doesn't, then they may never get as far as looking at your website and finding out how wonderful you say you are there.
Yeah, that's a very interesting perspective, and I would agree with you. I mean, you can draw straws for which order they're going to go in, but I agree with you. They're going to do both. And I say, and I'm firm on this, your LinkedIn profile is way more important than your website. Like you can do without a website, but you cannot do without a LinkedIn profile. I promise you, I have got way more clients from my LinkedIn profile than I've ever got from my website. And my website's got funnels and all sorts of cool stuff on it. But the LinkedIn profile puts it to shame every single time. So
I think the only distinction I would draw is if you're a small accountancy firm and you're looking to work with home workers and hobbyists and small clients and maybe contractors and people who don't have a business, a real business, and they're not on LinkedIn, then maybe for you, LinkedIn isn't so crucial. But that's a tiny minority of accountants in the UK. And if you're serious about wanting to work with clients that have some growth opportunity, that they have a genuine business and hopefully want more than simply helping them file their accounts and tax returns, 100% LinkedIn is the place to be. And I don't think James is going to say it, so I will. Don't think of LinkedIn as being a social media. It's an online business networking platform. It's an online profiling platform. It's quite distinct from what other people reference as social media.
I couldn't agree with you more. You know, if I just look at the South African statistics, because obviously I'm very familiar with those, we've got over 7 million people on LinkedIn in South Africa alone, and we've only got 7.6 million registered taxpayers. So go and do the maths on that, right? What it's basically saying is that all of your ideal clients, all of your economically active ideal clients are on LinkedIn. So you definitely have to be there. It's not negotiable anymore. It's definitely the place for you to be to, as you've said, actually unlock probably the best prospecting platform in the world for us as accountants. There is no better place to find clients.
No, absolutely agree. What's your basic advice to accountants? Are there common mistakes you see that they make?
You know what? Yeah, you know, even before we get to LinkedIn, probably the most common mistake is they just throw up a profile. And, you know, when LinkedIn was first created, it was all for the job market. So when you go and you fill out your profile, it looks like a CV or a resume. And that's actually the furthest thing from the truth when it comes to us as accountants and business people. So us marketing / business people, we've kind of butchered what LinkedIn originally created. And if you think of LinkedIn not as a resume, but actually as a sales letter, that's really what you want to do. So a lot of accountants go about it all wrong. And the reason they do that, and probably the biggest issue that they have, is they don't know who their ideal client is. So in fact, of all the things that I teach, LinkedIn sales funnels, doesn't matter what it is, the most valuable thing that I teach people is how to identify your ideal client.
But James, as I'm sure you found in South Africa, and I find it over here as well, so many accountants will say, well, there's so many different types of clients I could act for, and I don't want to exclude those that might be interested. And I entirely agree with you. Being able to identify your ideal client, your ideal type of client, is absolutely crucial. And stepping back a stage, the point about LinkedIn being very much for jobs and recruitment, that's what it was set up for originally. It's moved on so far since then, hasn't it? And given the number of LinkedIn profiles, I think it's 30 million in the UK. It's some ridiculously high number, similar sort of proportion of the working market that you referenced there. Yes, a lot of those people are employees, but by definition, they are not all looking for jobs or looking to recruit people. They are establishing themselves, even if they are employees, they're establishing themselves so that as and when they're looking for a job, maybe somebody will find them. But in the meantime, all the business owners are there, all the directors are there, all the influencers are there, all the other professionals are there. Certainly those who want to engage, want to build and develop their practices and businesses are there.
No, that's quite right. And also, it's probably more now under COVID, but before the lockdown scenario that we're going through at the moment, LinkedIn was adding members at a rate of more than 2 per second. So even if you think you've exhausted your entire market, and that could just be a local market, I promise you, just as soon as you've got through all of those, there's a whole bunch more that are jumping onto LinkedIn. So
Absolutely.
yeah, that market is endless.
We've both had this conversation with accountants that there are plenty of accountants out there who do like networking, or did like networking when they were allowed to. And there are many more who don't like networking. And one of the reasons they don't like it is it's partly a consequence of what we were taught as children. Don't talk to strangers. And that's sort of embedded in our subconscious. But beyond that, it's the fact they go to a networking event and they come away disappointed. Well, I didn't meet any prospective clients, because they misunderstand what networking is about. It's about meeting people who might, who will develop a relationship with you and might then either be in a position to engage you or to recommend or refer you. How much better to be able to use a tool like LinkedIn, and instead of randomizing who it is you meet, choosing who you're going to engage with, because they are either your ideal target client or very similar to the type of person you'd like to engage as a client in the future. Does that make sense to you, James?
You hit the nail on the head there. So I have this conversation all the time. Now, I have to tell you, I love the live networking as much as anybody. In fact, for me, it's now a guilty pleasure. So I go just to be with the people, because I know realistically, genuinely, the chances of me getting business out of it are so remote. Because if you think about it, you go into a room of arbitrary people that have just collected there. You've got to hope, firstly, that they don't have an accountant. And you've also got to hope that they're in the market and they're looking specifically for you. So the chances of you actually landing a client are actually quite small.
Of course.
So you're right. You have to actually build relationships, and these are things that develop over time. Whereas with LinkedIn, you can be very specific in terms of who you want to target. So in my world, I deal specifically with accountants. They're the easiest people to find, right? Because they call themselves accountants. So when I go to LinkedIn and I use some of the filters, which we can talk about in a minute, I can literally find accountants that own their own practices, that are within an 80-kilometer radius of my office, that have 10 employees or less, right? I can hone in on exactly the type of people that I'm looking for, and LinkedIn will show them to me. So now when I start to create those relationships and reach out to people, I already have a better than average chance that those people will actually be ideal clients for me. And so when I start the conversation, it gets to from prospect to conversation to consultation to client a lot quicker than it is when I'm doing something in a random basis. And I'm so confident that in our book, we actually say you will get, if you apply the system, you'll get a minimum of 2 new clients every single month. So I didn't say leads. Notice, I did not say leads. I said clients. So I know that the numbers stack up, and I don't care what industry you're in. I happen to work with accountants, but it works across all industries, because, and it's been like this probably for decades, right? If you have 100 people, there's always 1 to 3% of those people that are looking to buy your product or service now. I don't care if it's a hamburger, a house, a car, accounting services, marketing services, there's always people that are looking. So if we target the right people, numerically, there are always going to be low-hanging fruit, 1 to 3 people out of every 100 that are looking to buy our services right now. And that's why I'm confident in the system.
And I think that is wonderful, that confidence. I'll talk about leads. I love the fact you have the confidence to talk about generating clients, but also the whole system that you're talking about demands that accountants identify who their ideal clients are in the first place. Because if they don't do that, if anyone and everyone could be a client, then they could pick up clients that are not ideal. They could pick up clients that will pay them a few £100 a year, when really they want clients who are going to pay them a few £1,000 a year.
Absolutely. I can tell you this. I always survey my people. Now, I remember I've been doing this one-on-one coaching for 3 years now, and I speak to the people that I'm still coaching, and I speak to the people that I've finished coaching. And I say to them, so what was the most valuable thing? What was the big aha moment that you got out of our time together? And probably 80% of the time, it comes back learning to pick a niche. So I get comments like, I never realized I could build a whole business around one single niche. So that just shows you how valuable it is. And, I think you alluded to it earlier. It's a bit of a mind bend for accountants when you go to them and say, no, make your market smaller rather than bigger. It's like, but and then they panic because they're going to lose out on all these people. No, the smaller you make it, when you become the expert in that space, the irony is that it actually becomes bigger, and suddenly you can charge more. So that's really the key, is you become the specialist, people resonate to you and towards you, and you can basically write your own paycheck.
And also the same thing applies almost offline as well. I remember talking to an accountant I was mentoring a few years ago, and he had no idea how to focus what he was doing. It was all, the old spray and pray advertising and marketing. He was doing this here and that there, complete lack of clarity, inconsistent, and just trying to focus, not focus, just doing everything everywhere. And he really struggled to find a niche. And I eventually got him down to something. I said, well, what are you really interested in? And all of a sudden his eyes just lit up. And he was into motorbikes, as I recall. And when I suggested that he looked to find independent owned motorbike companies and suppliers to motorbike companies, his eyes had already lit up. All of a sudden, the excitement that he would have a specific focus and he could learn to develop the niche. And at the very least, he'd be having conversations with people that he wanted to have conversations with, rather than random strangers that he didn't know if he'd have anything in common with. Made a huge difference to him, and his business went to strength from strength to strength.
Yeah, I can't tell you how important passion is. For me, there might be days that I get up and I've got to do a session and I've got a headache, and it's like I flip a switch. It's like it's game time. Suddenly I click the button and I'm on, and I forget about my headache, and I give the best of me for that hour and a half. And then the minute I'm finished, I'm back down in my chair and I've got to go sleep, because now I remember I've got a headache. And you see that all the time with people, because if you take me, right, I am an accountant. So when I deal with accountants, my life is easy. In fact, my fiance, she mocks me. She says to me, "You don't work." She says, "You just talk to your friends all day." And I laugh at her. I say, "Yes, that's what I do. I talk to my friends all day." But think about this for a second. I talk to my friends all day and I understand them so intimately that all I've got to do is I've got to apply the marketing strategies that I'm now really good at, because I've been doing them for so long, to that specific client's business. That's my only job in life is to do that. So it becomes so easy. I almost don't have to think, but I almost don't have to think, because it's so easy and it's so natural, because I've been doing it for so long. Every now and again, one of my accounting clients comes to me and says, "Can you help one of my clients?" Now, the answer, by the way, is always yes, because remember, we're niching our marketing. We're not niching our business. I have to work, I kid you not, probably 2 to 3 times as hard to get the same result. Same process, okay? Nothing has changed. I now have to first learn that business before I'm in the same position to be able to give that same level of service and to see the same things that I would see. So that's one of the benefits of niching, is it just makes your life so much easier. You become the expert, you get to charge more, and life becomes effortless, and you do deal with the people that you want to deal with. So I can't remind enough of niching.
Yeah. We'll move on from there, because I think you've made your point.
I made my point. Okay.
And I entirely support it. You said something else just now that just resonated with me, about your fiance teasing you about talking to your friends. And my wife and I have similar conversations. And when I used to be a professional speaker, I say used to be because at the time of recording, there is no immediate prospect I'm going to be doing any more of that. But I would come home and she'd say, did the audience like it? Did they appreciate it? Did it go well? Did you get applause? Yes. And I'd say, but they didn't laugh. And she'd say, but Mark, you're talking to accountants. And I would remind myself that accountants, sometimes, not always, a little bit cerebral and process information in different ways to generally more extrovert people. Have to say that towards the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, I was doing that many more speaking gigs, and I was getting more outward laughs as well as just the inner ones. And it's such a shame that's all stopped for now. Anyway, enough about that. Back to LinkedIn. So having identified a niche, what then do you encourage accountants to do with LinkedIn, James?
So what's really nice, I think when we started, we spoke about the absolute importance of having a really, really good profile. And really, you can't do anything until your profile is tip top. So you don't want to be shouting anything from the rooftops because people are going to come and think you're an idiot. But when your profile is up to scratch, and by the way, it must mirror your website, right? So there's got to be all that congruence. Once you've got all of that basic groundwork done, then what we do is we can then start to use LinkedIn's filters. Now, I like the program that they've got called Sales Navigator. It is a paid program, but it's probably the best money that you will spend. And depending where you are in the world, it's going to cost different numbers. It costs R1,000 in South Africa. I'm not sure what you guys pay in pounds. It's about $80 odd in the US. Gives you an indication. And really what it does is it opens up a number of different search filters for you. So you can now be very, very specific. I think LinkedIn has 23 different search filters that you can use. So you can become very specific. So once you know exactly who that person is, by using those filters, you can hone in and find exactly the people that you want. So if I, for example, want accountants, now, if you think about what I'm doing, I'm selling marketing services, client acquisition services to accountants. So if I just go after any accountant, I'm going to be barking up the wrong tree a lot of the time. So if I speak to an accountant who's, say, an FD in commerce and industry, he doesn't care about clients. He has a division that does that. So if I talk to him, I'm wasting my time. So if I go into LinkedIn, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of the filters that talks about the industry. So if I say, I just want people in the accounting industry, automatically it suddenly takes all of those other people out of the realm of what I'm looking for. Then I know what accountants call themselves. So they'll call themselves partners, owners, or directors. So I can be very specific. I can say, give me partners in the accounting industry that are in a particular area with a headcount of so much. And I can add in as many or as few of those filters as I want. And I can really hone in and get exactly the target market that I want. So that is one of the most important things. And then obviously once we've done that, then the game is on. And now we can start to use the built-in tools with LinkedIn. So the way that works is LinkedIn obviously allows us to connect with other people. So hopefully everybody understands the power of connections. But the minute that you send out a connection request and they accept, you are now first level connections. And we have all of our first, second, third level and group members as part of our LinkedIn network. Okay, so that's very important to note. But the first level connections is what it's all about. And not everybody knows, but LinkedIn will actually give you the email address of your first level connections. And this is where the real gold is in the process. So the minute that we've connected now, the goal on LinkedIn is to start a conversation. Okay, so not to make a sale out the gate, people. Okay, not happening. Start a conversation. That's the goal, right? And as we start the conversation, we will start to determine whether people have a need. And if they have a need, the next goal is to get them to a consultation, because then obviously we can find out what the issues are and we can solve their problem. So what I like to do is I'm going to talk to people both on LinkedIn and on email at the same time, because everybody checks the email every day, but they don't check LinkedIn every day. So the minute that we start communicating on two channels, now we've doubled our chances of actually getting a result. So what happens is people see that I've emailed them. It's the same message, right? I'm not saying different things on email versus LinkedIn, same message. And then they'll come back to me. Some of them will talk to me on email. Some will say, oh, James is trying to talk to me. They'll go back to LinkedIn and then we engage there. And so when I added email, so that's the secret sauce, okay? That tripled my conversions. And you know, that is where all the magic happens. So the minute that the conversation starts, we're into that conversation and we're able to steer that conversation to a consultation, which obviously then eventually leads to a paying client.
That is fantastic, James, and it's pretty much what I would have hoped and expected, having had the privilege of reading a preview copy of your new book. Time's going to beat us inevitably.
As it does.
We both talk for hours on YouTube and other subjects, but we'll limit it to this. Thank you so much for joining me today on this recording, which I hope works, and I'll stick it on YouTube and elsewhere. If anybody wants to find out about the book, I know you're launching it on the 20th of May 2020, is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. So that's about a week from now when we're recording. So there's a one-day only special launch where we're giving away all sorts of crazy things, all sorts of other webinars, access to me, obviously the book at as lower prices as Amazon will let me do it. So it'd probably be around about $1 or maybe $2.
Ridiculously good. Yeah. Whether you want all the extras, I know it's one of those crazy lists of extras, but the book itself is worth, well, it's worth at least $10. No, it's worth.
Thanks, Mark.
It's worth fortune. And if I've got this right, we set up a bit.ly link earlier, bit.ly/LinkedIn book, but use a capital L for LinkedIn. LinkedIn book, all one word.
That's correct. Absolutely. So yeah, you guys will want to go there on the 20th, one day only. Grab the book and obviously grab everything else. If you don't get it there, obviously you can go directly to Amazon, but I want you to go through the link, or you can get it on our website. So our website is regularclients.com, because we get you 2 regular clients every month forever. Regularclients.com. And if you want to email me, it's just james@regularclients.com.
And of course, if you want to, you can connect with James on LinkedIn or with myself if we're not connected there yet either. James, thank you so much. Been an absolute joy and delight talking to you today. I hope you're released from lockdown in South Africa, and that we're released from lockdown over here as well. In the meantime,
we're going to get out before you.
Yeah, you will. In the meantime, stay safe, stay smiling, and stay sanitized too.
Absolutely. Mark, thank you. Much appreciated. See you guys all soon.